Welcome to Serenity Impact. My name is Collin Parks, and today we're going to be discussing goal setting. But the weeks to come, we will be discussing so much more than that. We have a lot of fun topics, including decision making, managing emotions, effective communication, and last but definitely not the least important skill to learn is building healthy friendships. Emphasis on healthy. Let's get started. To get started today, I'm just going to ask you a series of questions, and all I want y'all to do is to raise your hand if you know how to do what I'm asking. All right? Let's get started. Do you know how to ride a bike? I do. Do you know how to use a computer? Do you know how to eat with chopsticks? Maybe both hands? Do you know how to play a sport? Do you know how to study for a test? That one's a hard one. Do you know how to speak a second language? Getting a little harder. Do you know how to care for a pet? Do you know how to make a friend? All right. What are goals? We have different types of goals. Some are short-term, some are long-term. All right, and let's break those down. A short-term goal can be 1 to 3 months, but even shorter than that. It could be 1, 2, 3 days, even a week. A long-term goal can be much longer than that. It can be going to a year or even just 3 months. 3 months to anywhere longer. It could be up to 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. All right, those are long-term goals. An easy way to remember both types of goals is to see it like a walk in the garden. Usually gardens have paths, and on our path there is stepping stones. Each step is working towards the end of the path, putting one foot in front of another until we arrive at the end of our walk. Each stone we put a foot on was a short-term goal, all working to arrive at the end of our path, our long-term goal. Right? Using short-term goals are bringing us to a long-term goal, so we know each and every day what we're working towards. And once we meet those short-term goals, we know how to celebrate and know what to do when we get to our long-term goal, and then hopefully succeed. Why should goals matter to you? Right. We've all had a dream, something we thought up in our heads that we are interested in. If you've ever had a dream, it can become a goal if you set it correctly. Goals can keep us on track, just like we talked about with the garden, right? Our path. Goals can keep us on track, helping us know what exactly we want to chase after, day after day. So make sure, if we have a dream, we can turn it into a goal. All right, and we're going to do that today. How to name reachable goals. I'm going to give a series of tips and maybe even steps, and then we are going to hopefully create some, and we'll get there. Let's not get ahead of myself. These are helpful ways to work on intention, knowing what we want to work on. By remembering and checking off each tip as you create a goal, you can help yourself work towards what you want or what you are interested in. Let's check out these tips. There's a plan to set goals and be successful, but you have to name your goal correctly by making them personal, positive, possible, and specific. Let's break those down a little bit. Making a goal personal is the most important piece because it has to be personal and important to us. If it's not important to us, then we may get to the point that we don't want to work on it anymore and just kind of forget about it, right? We don't want to do that. We want to stay away from kind of forgetting our goals. So, making a goal personal is making your goal something you want and not something others want for you. Making your goal positive is you're using the words I can, I want, I will, instead of the words I won't, I can't. We want to stay away from using negative words. Just like saying, I won't eat junk food. A better way of saying that is, I will stay away from junk food. I will eat vegetables more often. I will change up my eating habits. Possible is our next tip. Do you have the resources to follow through with your goal? Do you know somebody that can help you? Our teachers, our friends, our parents, our guardians. Who do you live with? Right? Maybe cousins, family, anybody. Ask and reach out so we have and use our resources. We want to make our goals possible by giving ourselves enough time. When you are reading and setting a goal on reading a couple books, you don't want to say, well, I want to read 2 books in 2 days. All right, one each day. That may be unrealistic unless those books are really small. If they are thicker books, then we may want to give us enough time to reach that goal by saying, hey, I want to read 2 books in 2 months, a month for each book. We want to give ourselves enough time. And last but not least, we have to make our goals specific. Stay away from better, more, or some. These words are not specific enough. Instead, use words that you can measure by saying, by December, I want to read 3 books. Something you can follow, and so you can actually set a limit. Something measurable, so you know when you are done with your goal. How do you know when to celebrate if you do not cross the finish line at the end of your goal? So make sure that we can set time limits by making it measurable. Now we are going to discuss some examples of students going for the same goal. One student will be successful and achieve their goal, while the other student is not. Make sure to focus on our tips: personal, possible, positive, and specific. Let's get started. Our first scenario that we're going to look at are 2 girls going after a gymnastics tournament. They want first place. Our first student, Jane, she says, I don't really want to be in this gymnastics tournament, but my coach wants me to do it. And then we have our second student, Ruth, and she says, my goal is to win the gymnastics tournament. I've wanted to do this for as long as I can remember. Who sounded more positive? Who sounded like it was possible? Or the right word that I'm looking for, who thought it was personal? I think we all know who was more personal in their goal, and we know it's Ruth. Why do you think you are more likely to reach goals that really matter to you? If the goal is specific and personal to you, just like we said earlier, you are going to be more confident and more inclined to actually achieve that goal by not forgetting about it. If it's not personal, we may just forget about it, and we don't want to do that. So set goals that are personal, and we'll get to that in a minute. Bringing us to our second example, we have Lisa and Anita. Lisa says first, my mom's birthday is in 6 months. I'll save $5 a month. I think that's achievable. And our second example, Anita. My mom's birthday is next week. Well, looking at both examples, one of these girls achieved their goal and one did not. Which one do you think succeeded and why? Well, looking at those, I think we all know we have to make our goals possible. If we don't make our goals possible or even specific, then we don't know what we're going after. Lisa, she made her goal possible by setting a time limit of 6 months and knowing that she'll save $5 each month so she can get her mom a birthday present. I think that's possible, $5 a month. By working at chores or even odd and end jobs, we could all get $5 a month. So make sure to make our goals possible. All right. Bringing us to our third example, we have Brooks and Frederick. Both want to be physically fit for the upcoming baseball tournament. Brooks makes a goal. He says, I won't eat cookies or drink sodas after school anymore. That's a good goal. Frederick says, I will eat a piece of fruit and drink lots of water for my snack every day after school. One of these boys achieved his goal and one did not. Which one do you think succeeded? I think we can tell that both goals are very good, but Frederick was the one that succeeded. Why do you think Frederick reached his goal and Brooks did not? Well, remember when we were talking about being positive while creating our goals? Frederick succeeded because he said, I will, instead of saying I won't. By creating a positive goal, we are more inclined to actually succeed instead of saying I won't. Because every time we hear I won't eat cookies, we think of cookies. By saying I will eat some fruits and vegetables, then we know what to do. We have a game plan. So we have to remember a game plan is a big part of our goal. We want to make our goals positive. Remember. Okay. Bringing us to our final and last pair of students, we have John and Jack, and they want to read more. Well, John says, in 5th grade, I will read 3 books each month. That's a good goal. And Jack says, in 5th grade, I will read more. Well, we talked about success. And who do you think was successful with their goal? Jack wasn't specific about his goal. He wanted to read more, but he didn't specify how much more and when or how this would happen. How will he know when he's reached his goal? There's not a time limit that is made, and so Jack didn't know where to go. He didn't have a game plan like we were just talking about. But John, he gave himself a set amount of time. He made it possible, and he made it specific. It's important to remember each of our tips: possible, specific, positive, and personal. All right, now that we read some of those examples, let's get to creating our own. I want everybody to create their own short-term goal, something that is possible in the next week, month, or even 3 months. As long as 3 months, nothing over that. Creating a short-term goal, we're going to have about 3 minutes to think about something you want to do. Make sure it is achievable. We do not want to waste any time, so what exactly do you want to see in the next few months, or few days, or few weeks? I'm going to give you about 3 minutes, so go ahead and write on a piece of paper a short-term goal, and make sure personal, positive, possible, and specific. Goal check. We just got done creating our short-term goal. Let's check on our tips to see if we followed along and made it personal, positive, possible, and specific. Let's start with personal. Is it personal enough to you? Is it something that you want? That's a really important question, and it may be the most important out of all these tips. So make sure your goal is personal. If it's not, go ahead and change it. Let's move on to positive. Are you using the right words in your goal creating process? Is it I will, I can, instead of I won't, I will not. We want to stay away from using negative words because, again, if we know what to do, then we know our steps to take. If we say what not to do, then we can really just start thinking about what to stay away from. And we want to stay away from using those negative words. Is the goal that you set possible? Do you have the resources? Do you have the right amount of time to succeed with your goal? Is it specific? Specific, do you know what you're doing? Do you know what you're chasing after? And do you know what you want with your goal? If it's not any of those things, take the time to correct your goal. Let's move on to steps to setting a goal. I think it's important to know what to do, just like we were talking about with our garden and our path. By taking steps, we know where to put our foot next. All right, let's start. I think these steps are amazing, and I hope you remember them. Number 1 is name it. We have to create our goal. We have to name our goal so we can put it out into the world and make it concrete. We want to know what we're chasing after. It's very important to name it. You've already done that. We just created our short-term goal, so we thought of a goal already. We've named it. You've already done the first step. Easy as pie. Second, our second step is to picture it. We have to picture ourselves actually doing it, because if we do not and we don't see the truth in the scenario, then we don't know if we actually want to do that goal, if we want to succeed in that goal. An example could be if we wanted to be a mechanic. If you didn't like cars and working with your hands and getting kind of dirty, then that may not be a realistic goal for you. By working on Ferraris, that may be a great goal, but you have to work up and get there. It's not going to be your first car to work on. If you want to be a doctor, you have to be realistic with yourself too, and you have to be truthful, knowing what comes along with that. Are you okay with surgeries? Are you okay with blood? Are you okay with working with people? You have to be able to picture yourself in that goal to see if it actually is something that you want. Step number 3, you have to make sure you say, I can. This is something that you want. I can do this. This is possible as long as I work hard enough. Step number 4, think how to do it. Remember earlier, I said game plan, right? We have to create a game plan so we know where to put our foot next, right? Thinking on how to do it is just like picturing it. We have to be truthful to ourselves and know what it will take to get to our goal, to reach our goal. 5, our step number 5 is go for it. We have to actually take that first initial step to really go after what we want. Because we know we've thought up our game plan. If we get there, then you can do it. You can step out and actually go after your goal. I know you can. So if you've made it to step number 5, then go ahead and take that first step. Bringing us to step number 6. Once we are successful, we have to be able to celebrate. By tricking our brains into celebrating and knowing, well, hey, I patted myself on the back. I did something good. Teaching our brain to know this is what we want. We want to be successful. I don't think any of us want to be unsuccessful. Remember, anything we dream can become a goal as long as we are intentional. I hope everything was fun and enjoyable today, and I am looking forward to working with everyone again next week. So I hope y'all are too. Signing off.